Admiral Kyle Morrison sat in his chair at the massive crystal table. The room was huge and filled with strange alien creatures from across the galaxy. For 3 long months, he had listened to them talk down to humans like they were children. Today felt different. Today felt like the last day he would sit here. The Zorathi delegate waved his purple tentacles in the air. His skin was slimy, and his voice sounded like grinding metal. "The human military tactics are too simple," he said with a snort. "Your people fight like wild animals. We have evolved past such crude methods." Morrison's hands tightened into fists under the table. Ambassador Lisa Yang sat next to him. She was trying to keep calm, but he could see the anger in her dark eyes. She had been insulted every day for the past week. The aliens kept calling human ideas stupid and worthless. Captain Rick Johnson stood at the back of the room with other human officers. His face was red with anger. He had fought in 12 battles to protect human colonies. These aliens had never seen real war. They used robots and computers to fight for them. When the fighting got tough, they ran away. The Ilari delegate was tall and thin with silver skin. She looked like a walking stick bug. "Humans need guidance," she said in her high voice. "Your species is too young and violent. You need older, wiser races to help you make decisions." Morrison felt his jaw clench. These aliens had started 3 wars in the past 50 years. They had destroyed entire planets. Yet they called humans violent. The worst part came when the council chair spoke. It was a creature that looked like a giant jellyfish floating in a clear tank. Its voice came from speakers around the room. "After much discussion, we have made our decision. Humans will only have observer status in our galactic government. You may watch our meetings but cannot vote on any decisions. This includes decisions about your own planets and colonies." The room went dead silent. Ambassador Yang's pen snapped in her hand. Captain Johnson took a step forward, but Morrison held up his hand to stop him. "You want us to follow rules we cannot help make?" Morrison asked slowly. "Rules about our own people and our own worlds." "Yes," the chair said. "This is how it must be. Your people are too new to have a real voice in galactic affairs. Perhaps in a few hundred years, you will be ready." Morrison looked around the table at all the alien faces. Some looked smug and happy. Others tried to look sorry, but he could see they were not really sad. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans would accept anything just to stay in the Galaxy Club. He stood up slowly. His chair made a loud scraping noise on the crystal floor. Every alien in the room looked at him. Morrison picked up his papers and files. Lisa Yang did the same. Captain Johnson and the other human officers moved toward the door. "What are you doing?" the Ilari delegate asked. She sounded confused. Morrison looked right at her. "This negotiation is over," he said. His voice was calm, but every alien in the room could hear the steel in it. "We came here to make peace as equals. You want us to be your pets. You cannot just leave," the Zorathi said, his tentacles waving faster. "You need the Galactic Council. You need our trade and protection." Morrison almost smiled. "We will see about that." He walked toward the door. Ambassador Yang and the other humans followed him. Behind them, the aliens started talking loudly in many different languages. Some sounded angry. Some sounded worried. As Morrison reached the door, he turned back one last time. "You made a mistake today," he said to the whole room. "You will understand that soon enough." Then he walked out. The humans were leaving, and they were never coming back to beg for scraps from the galactic table. President Elena Rodriguez stood at the podium in the United Earth Parliament building on Luna Station. Behind her, huge screens showed human space stations and colonies across 50 star systems. Red lights blinked on the screens as each station began shutting down connections to alien networks. "Today marks a new chapter for humanity," Rodriguez said to the packed chamber. "We tried to work with the Galactic Council as friends and equals. They made it clear we are not welcome as such." Dr. Marcus Webb sat in the front row. He was the chief science advisor for Earth. His tablet showed lists of shared technology programs. One by one, he marked them as closed. Fusion reactor designs, medical research, space navigation systems, all of it was being pulled back to human control only. All joint research projects with alien species are now ended, Webb announced. Human scientists are being recalled from alien facilities immediately. The screen showed transport ships launching from alien worlds. Thousands of human workers, scientists, and their families were coming home. They carried with them years of experience and knowledge that the aliens had taken for granted. Commander Blake Turner walked through the corridors of Kepler Nexus, the massive space station where the peace talks had been held. It was supposed to be neutral territory, but human crews had built most of it. Now they were leaving. Pack everything, Turner told his teams. Tools, computers, spare parts. If humans made it or installed it, we take it with us. His workers moved quickly through the station. They took apart the water purification systems humans had designed. They removed the improved power cores human engineers had installed. Within hours, Kepler Nexus was running on backup systems that barely worked. Alien workers watched in confusion as the humans carried away piece after piece of equipment. A Zorathi supervisor tried to stop them. "You cannot take these things," he said. "They are part of the station now." Turner showed him a tablet with legal documents. "Check your contracts." Humans installed these upgrades under temporary agreements. The agreements are now void. The alien's tentacles drooped as he realized the humans were right. Without human maintenance, many of the station's best systems would fail within weeks. Back on Luna Station, Senator Grace Palmer signed document after document. Each one cut another tie between humanity and the Galactic Council. Trade agreements, defense pacts, scientific exchanges, all of them were being terminated. "The Terran Independence Declaration is now official," Palmer announced. "Humanity owes nothing to the Galactic Council. We are free to make our own choices and our own alliances." The news spread across human space within minutes. On New Tokyo Station, workers cheered as they shut down the alien embassy. On Mars Colony, human miners stopped shipping rare minerals to galactic traders. On Europa Base, scientists closed their labs to alien researchers who had been stealing human discoveries for years. Admiral Morrison watched from his ship as the last human transport left Kepler Nexus. The station looked smaller somehow, less bright than before. Emergency lights flickered where human systems used to provide steady power. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're getting messages from alien governments. They want to talk." Morrison almost laughed. "Tell them to call the Galactic Council. That's who they said should handle human affairs." Across the galaxy, alien leaders were starting to panic. They had thought humans were weak and dependent. They never imagined humans would actually leave. Now cargo ships sat empty in spaceports because human crews had gone home. Factories slowed down because human engineers were not there to fix the machines. On Earth, children looked up at the stars with new pride. Their parents and grandparents had built something amazing in space. Now they were building something even better. A human future that did not depend on alien approval. Rodriguez ended her speech with words that would be remembered forever. "We offered our hand in friendship. They slapped it away. Now they will learn what the galaxy loses when it rejects humanity." The withdrawal was complete. Humanity stood alone, but they stood with dignity. The aliens would soon learn what they had thrown away. General Vextar stomped through his command center on the Zorathi homeworld. His thick tentacles left slime trails on the metal floor. Around him, purple-skinned officers watched screens showing empty human colonies and abandoned trade routes. "This is just a game," Vextar growled to his staff. "Humans are like children throwing a tantrum. They will come crawling back within 2 months when they run out of food and fuel." His intelligence chief, a younger Zorathi named Krelvin, held up a datapad. "Sir, our scouts report the human colonies are not empty. They are growing larger and building new structures." Vextar grabbed the pad and crushed it with his tentacles. Human lies and tricks. They cannot survive without our technology and protection. On the other side of the galaxy, the Ilari High Command met in their crystal tower that reached into the clouds. Commander Siluria stood before a holographic map showing patrol routes. Her tall, stick-thin body cast strange shadows on the walls. "Double all patrols along human borders," she ordered. "When they start raiding our supply convoys out of desperation, we will be ready. Humans are naturally violent. Without civilization to control them, they will turn to piracy." Her officers nodded agreement. The Ilari had always believed humans were barely controlled savages. Now they expected the worst from them. The Gaxian Trade Federation held an emergency meeting in their massive trading post orbiting Sigma Prime. Fat, slug-like creatures slid across the floor, leaving wet trails. They calculated profits and losses on floating screens that glowed in the dim light. "Humans provided 30% of our manufacturing," wheezed Trade Master Glexpa. "But our automated systems can replace them. We may lose some efficiency, but we will save money on wages." The other Gaxians nodded, their eye stalks wobbling. They had never respected human workers anyway. Machines were more predictable than humans. Council Chairman Zelnoth floated in his tank at the emergency council meeting. The jellyfish-like creature's tentacles moved in angry patterns as delegates argued around him. The meeting chamber was half empty. Several species had already recalled their ambassadors. "Send warships to bring the humans back," demanded the Drakari representative, a scaled creature with glowing eyes. They signed agreements. They must honor them. "No," said the Crystari delegate, her gem-like body sparkling. "Let them learn their lesson in the cold emptiness of space. They will beg to return soon enough." Zelnoth spoke through the speakers around the room. "We will wait. Human stubbornness will break against the reality of galactic politics. They need us more than we need them." But as weeks turned into months, strange reports began reaching alien governments. Human colonies were not just surviving but growing. New ships appeared in human space, ships built with designs no alien race recognized. Independent traders brought stories of human settlements trading rare metals and new technologies with rim-world species. On the Klaxon homeworld, Ambassador Thector read an intelligence report with growing concern. "Humans have established 17 new colonies in the past 3 months," he told his superior, "and they are not using any galactic technology we provided." The report showed pictures of human settlements with clean energy systems, advanced agriculture, and bustling spaceports. These were not the desperate refugee camps the aliens had expected to see. Even worse, minor species that had been bullied by the Galactic Council for centuries were quietly reaching out to humans. The Denari had signed a trade agreement. The Veltani had opened their borders to human explorers. The Kalari had even asked for human protection against Drakari raiders. General Vextar stared at the latest reports on his new datapad. Human space was expanding. Human technology was advancing. Human allies were multiplying. His tentacles trembled as a terrible thought entered his mind. What if the humans did not need them at all? Captain Julia Martinez stood on the bridge of the New Horizons, watching as her ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Before them stretched an unexplored star system, with 3 blue-green planets orbiting a bright yellow sun. The ship's sensors began scanning immediately. "Captain," called her science officer, Lieutenant Ben Torres, "I'm reading massive deposits of gravidium ore on the 2nd planet, and the 3rd planet has more platinum than I've ever seen in one place." Martinez smiled. These were materials the galaxy needed desperately. Gravidium powered their fastest ships, while platinum was essential for advanced computer systems. The Galactic Council had been fighting over limited supplies of both for decades. "Take us closer," she ordered. "Let's see what we found." 6 weeks later, human mining ships arrived at the system. Using new drilling techniques developed by human engineers, they began extracting ore at rates that amazed even the miners. The humans called their new discovery the Prosperity System. On Earth, engineer Andy Peterson worked in a lab deep underground. Around him, fusion reactors hummed quietly. producing enough energy to power a small city. But these were not ordinary reactors. Peterson had spent 2 years redesigning them from scratch. "Run the efficiency test again," he told his assistant, Dr. Mary Williams. The numbers appeared on the screen. Peterson's reactors were 50% more efficient than the best galactic designs. They used less fuel, produced more power, and were safer to operate. But the most important part was that they used no alien technology at all. "The Council has been selling us inferior designs for years," Williams said, looking at the data. "They kept the best technology for themselves." Peterson nodded. "Well, now we have something better than their best." In another lab across the city, Dr. Chloe Watson injected tiny robots into a tissue sample. The nanobots, smaller than blood cells, immediately began repairing damaged cells and fighting infection. These medical nanites could heal wounds in minutes and cure diseases that alien medicine took weeks to treat. The galactic medical community said human biological research was primitive, Watson told her team. "They won't be saying that much longer." Ambassador Carlos Silva sat in a cantina on Vega Minor, a rim world far from the galactic core. Across from him sat Captain Zextar of the Hegemony, a blue-skinned alien who looked nervous. "My people are tired of council taxes," Zextar said quietly. 70% of everything we produce goes to them. They give us nothing but empty promises of protection." Silva sipped his drink. "What kind of protection do you need?" "Pirates hit our cargo ships every month. When we ask the Council for help, they say we must pay additional security fees we cannot afford." Silva nodded. "Humanity offers a different arrangement. We help protect your ships. In return, you give us fair trade and honest friendship. No taxes to distant rulers." Zextar's eyes widened. "You would do this, even though you left the Council?" "Especially because we left the Council," Silva replied. Meanwhile, factory workers on the Gaxian trade worlds noticed problems in their automated systems. Production lines that had run smoothly for years began breaking down. Computer systems crashed without warning. Quality control failed repeatedly. The Gaxian managers called their technicians. "What is wrong with these machines?" demanded Supervisor Blacksrun. "They need maintenance that only humans knew how to do," the technician replied. "The systems are too complex for us to understand fully." Similar problems appeared across the galaxy. On Zorathi military bases, advanced weapons stopped working properly. Elari communication networks suffered random failures. Crystari construction projects ground to a halt when synthetic materials began failing. The humans had not just taken their people when they left. They had taken decades of knowledge and expertise that the aliens had never bothered to learn themselves. They had always assumed humans would be there to fix things when they broke. Now the aliens were learning a harsh lesson about dependence. The species they called primitive had been holding their civilization together in ways they never realized. Admiral Tethria of the Galactic Fleet received a stack of intelligence reports that made her 8 eyes blink in sequence. She was a Kalari, tall and insect-like, with wings that glittered in the ship's lights. The reports had come from spies throughout human space. "This cannot be accurate," she said to her aide. "Are you certain these numbers are correct?" "Triple-checked, Admiral," the aide replied. "Human fleet size has increased by 200% in 18 months. They have 40 new warships and over 100 support vessels." Tethria looked at the holographic display showing human territory. Blue dots marked human ships. Far more blue dots than anyone had expected. How are they building ships so quickly? On a distant world, General Kevin Phillips watched as human soldiers practiced new tactics. They moved like water, flowing around obstacles and striking from unexpected angles. Their weapons fired bursts of energy that could pierce any armor the galaxy had seen before. "The old galactic way of fighting is stupid," Phillips told his officers. "They line up in neat rows and fire until one side runs away. We move faster, think quicker, and hit harder." His soldiers nodded. They had studied every galactic battle for the past century. The aliens fought like they were still using ancient weapons, not modern energy systems. Human tactics were designed for the reality of space combat. The Crystari Empire had always been proud of never having industrial accidents. Their automated systems had run perfectly for 300 years. But now, sparks flew from control panels and machinery ground to a halt in their biggest factory. Engineer Vellerin stared at the broken systems in horror. The humans maintained all of this, he realized. They understood how it worked better than we did. Without human engineers to fix problems and improve efficiency, Crystari production dropped by 60%. The synthetic materials Dr. Rachel Scott had helped develop were impossible to replicate. The formulas were locked in human computers that had left with the human researchers. On the Council homeworld, economics advisor Zelmak presented his report to a room full of worried aliens. Charts and graphs showed red lines going downward across all major indicators. Trade revenues are down 30%, Zelmak announced. Manufacturing has dropped 25%, and 7 member species have requested emergency economic aid. The council chairman floated in his tank, tentacles writhing with anxiety. How is this possible? Humans were only a small part of our economy. It appears they were a more important part than we realized. Zelmak replied carefully. They provided key technologies, maintained critical systems, and served as intermediaries for many rim-world trades. The Delarn delegate, a peaceful plant-like being, finally spoke up. Perhaps we should reconsider our treatment of humanity. They offered friendship, and we gave them contempt. Several other delegates murmured agreement. The Zorathi representative slammed his tentacle on the table. Weakness, he shouted. The humans will return when they starve. But evidence suggested otherwise. Reports showed human settlements prospering, their technology advancing daily, their military growing stronger. And most troubling of all, other species were leaving the Council to join human alliances. Admiral Tethria watched another intelligence update appear on her screen. The humans had made contact with the Veltar, a warrior species from beyond the galaxy's edge. The Veltar had never shown interest in galactic politics before, but they seemed eager to trade with humans. Send a message to Fleet Command, she ordered. We need better intelligence on human capabilities. What we're seeing should not be possible. But it was possible. The humans had spent decades learning galactic technology while developing their own improvements. They had studied alien weaknesses while hiding their own strengths. Now they were free to use everything they had learned. The galaxy was beginning to realize that humanity had never needed the Council as much as the Council needed humanity. President Rodriguez sat across from Fleet Admiral Ian Brooks in the Oval Office on Luna Station. Through the massive windows, they could see Earth spinning slowly in the distance. On the table between them, holographic displays showed human expansion across space. 47 new colonies in 18 months, Brooks reported. And that's not counting the mining stations and research outposts. We're growing faster than anyone predicted. Rodriguez nodded as she studied the star maps. Blue markers showed human settlements spreading like a web throughout unexplored space. What about the new alliances? Better than we hoped, Brooks smiled. The Ketheri want protection from Council tax collectors. The Morden are sharing mineral surveys in exchange for medical technology. And the Veltar are teaching us advanced metallurgy. These species had been invisible to the Council, dismissed as too small or too far away to matter. But humans had reached out to them as equals, offering fair trades and honest friendship. Ambassador Ryan Carter stood in the meeting hall of New Harmony Station, humanity's newest diplomatic center. Around him sat representatives from 30 different species, most of whom had never been allowed in Council chambers. The Independent Systems Alliance is built on simple principles, Carter explained. Equal voices for all members, no taxes to distant rulers, protection for those who need it, fair trade for everyone. A small furry creature named Telowin raised her paw. She was from a species the Council had conquered 50 years ago. The Council takes 60% of our food production. What would the Alliance take? Nothing, Carter replied. We ask only that you share knowledge and defend each other when attacked. Your resources belong to your people." The room erupted in excited chatter. Species that had been slaves for generations were hearing about freedom for the first time. Meanwhile, civil unrest spread across council worlds. On Zephyria Prime, workers protested in the streets, demanding answers about rising prices and failing infrastructure. Their signs read, "Where are the humans?" and "Bring back our maintenance crews." The Gaxian government faced its first riots in 2 centuries as automated factories continued breaking down. Citizens who had lived comfortable lives suddenly found themselves without basic goods. The slug-like leaders had no idea how to fix the machines humans had maintained for them. On the other side of the galaxy, the noble Zenturi made a decision that shocked the council. Elder Carathun stood before his people's parliament, his golden scales shining under the chamber lights. "The Galactic Council has proven itself corrupt and weak," he declared. "They cast aside a species that offered only friendship and cooperation. This is not the way of honor." The Zenturi Parliament voted unanimously to leave the Council and petition to join the Human Alliance. Their ancient warrior culture respected strength and honor, qualities they saw in humanity but not in the Council. Within days, other species followed. The peaceful Rilani left because the Council could not protect them from pirates. The industrial Vokhtar left because their trade agreements with humans were more profitable than Council regulations. The Council found itself hemorrhaging members as species rushed to join what they called the human way, government based on cooperation rather than domination. Admiral Brooks updated President Rodriguez on the latest developments. Intelligence suggests panic in the Council. They're calling emergency sessions almost daily now. "Any military movements?" Rodriguez asked. "Some, but they're spread thin trying to maintain control over their remaining territory. Several member species are openly refusing to send ships for Council operations." Rodriguez looked out at Earth again. 2 years ago, humans had been begging for respect at that crystal table. Now they led a growing alliance of free worlds that offered something the Council never had: hope. The old galactic order was crumbling, and humanity was showing the galaxy what could be built in its place. The galaxy held its breath as massive Drakhtari battleships appeared at the edge of the Kepler sector. These were not ordinary raiders, but an invasion fleet of 500 ships carrying 2 million warriors. The Drakhtari were known throughout space as unstoppable conquerors who ate their enemies and turned planets into burning wastelands. For 200 years, it had taken the entire galactic fleet to stop Drakhtari invasions. Sometimes even that was not enough. Entire star systems had been lost to their black ships and terrible weapons. Colonel Lisa Thompson stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Earth's Fury. Around her, human ships moved into formation. She had only 200 ships against 500, but she was not afraid. "All ships, follow attack pattern Delta," she ordered. "Remember your training. Move fast, hit hard, trust your teammates." The human ships suddenly scattered in all directions. To the Drakhtari, it looked like the humans were running away. The alien commander, War Chief Graktar, laughed with all 4 of his mouths. "Cowards," he growled. "Chase them down. Kill them all." But the humans were not running. They were using 3-dimensional tactics that no galactic military had ever seen. Human ships dove above and below the Drakhtari formation, hitting from angles the aliens had never considered. Human weapons fired with perfect timing. Energy beams struck Drakhtari engines while missiles hit their weapon systems. Within minutes, 20 alien ships were spinning helplessly in space. "Impossible," Graktar snarled. "Humans are supposed to be weak." The battle lasted 6 hours. Human ships moved like dancers, perfectly coordinated, never getting in each other's way. When Drakhtari ships tried to ram them, the humans simply weren't there anymore. When the aliens tried to group together, human weapons struck from long range with impossible accuracy. At the end, only 50 Drakhtari ships limped away into deep space. The other 450 were either destroyed or captured. Not a single human ship was lost, though several needed repairs. Admiral Morrison watched the battle reports from his command ship. He was now commanding the entire Independent Systems Defense Force, and what he saw made him smile. The humans had not just won. They had dominated a force that terrified the galaxy. "Send a message to all Council worlds," he ordered. "Let them see what human military doctrine can accomplish." The news spread across the galaxy within hours. Species that had lived in fear of the Drakhtari for centuries suddenly realized that humans could protect them in ways the Council never could. Captain Susan North commanded a patrol squadron near Vega Station when distress calls came in. A group of peaceful Delarn colony ships was being attacked by pirates. The Council had been too busy with political meetings to respond. "All ships, jump to intercept," North ordered. 20 minutes later, her ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel to find 6 pirate vessels surrounding 3 helpless colony ships. The pirates were demanding all cargo and threatening to kill everyone aboard. "This is Captain North of the Human Alliance Navy," she broadcast. "Release those ships and surrender immediately." The pirate leader laughed. "Humans, you're not even part of the galaxy anymore. Leave now, or we'll destroy you." North's ships opened fire. The pirates' shields collapsed in seconds. Their engines were disabled before they could react. Within 10 minutes, all 6 pirate ships were floating dead in space while their crews were in human holding cells. The Delarn colonists sent grateful messages across their entire communication network. "The humans saved us when no one else would," they said. "They did not ask for payment or demand tribute. They helped us because it was right." Stories like this spread throughout the galaxy. Humans stopping slave traders. Humans defending weak colonies. Humans sharing medical supplies during plagues. They had become the protectors that the Council always claimed to be but never was. The balance of power had shifted completely. Species no longer looked to the Council for protection. They looked to humanity. 2.5 years had passed since the humans walked out of the peace negotiations. Council Chairman Zelnoth floated in his tank, staring at a nearly empty chamber, where once hundreds of species had gathered. Now only 20 remained. The rest had left to join the Human Alliance. The galactic economy was in ruins. Trade routes were empty. Factories stood silent. The mighty galactic fleet could barely patrol its shrinking territory. Every day brought news of another species leaving. Another world choosing human protection over Council rule. Zelnoth watched his remaining delegates argue about food shortages and system failures. These were the species that had once called humans primitive savages. Now they were begging each other for basic supplies. A message arrived from the Outer Rim. The Kethari, who had joined the humans 6 months ago, reported record harvests and growing prosperity. Their children were learning in schools that humans had helped build. Their sick were being healed in hospitals using human medical technology. "We must act," declared General Vextar, his purple tentacles writhing with anger. "Send our remaining ships to force the humans back to negotiations." "With what ships?" asked Admiral Tethria sadly. "Half our fleet has been recalled by member species who need them to fight pirates. The other half lacks fuel because the Veltani joined the Alliance and stopped shipping Gravitium." The truth was crushing. The Council had no power left to force anyone to do anything. Ambassador Kextal, who had been part of the original negotiations, stepped forward. She was a silver-skinned Altari with large eyes that showed her fear clearly. "There is only one option left. We must go to them." The chamber fell silent. The idea of Council representatives begging humans for help seemed impossible. But what choice did they have? 3 weeks later, a small Council fleet approached New Geneva Station, humanity's capital in space. The station was enormous, built with clean lines and bright lights. Ships from dozens of species docked peacefully at its ports. The contrast to the dying Council worlds was obvious to everyone. Ambassador Kextal walked through corridors filled with humans, Centauri, Delarn, Veltar, and species she didn't even recognize. Children of different races played together in parks that grew inside the station. Everyone seemed happy, healthy, and hopeful. She was escorted to President Rodriguez's office. The human leader sat behind a simple desk, but the power she wielded was clear. Fleet Admiral Brooks stood at her side, wearing the uniform of the most feared military force in the galaxy. "Madam President," Kextol began, her voice shaking slightly, "the Council has come to discuss the possibility of rejoining galactic civilization." Rodriguez studied the alien diplomat calmly. "The Council cast us out, remember? You said we were too primitive for an equal voice in your government." "We were wrong," Kextol admitted. "We see that now. Your people have built something remarkable here. Your alliance thrives while our empire crumbles." Through the office windows, Kextol could see the bustling station. Dr. Amanda Phillips walked by, leading a team of scientists from 6 different species working together as equals. All of them wore badges showing the symbol of the human alliance, a circle of stars representing unity among diverse worlds. "What exactly are you asking for?" Rodriguez asked. "We want to join the alliance," Kextol said quietly. "As equals, not rulers. We want to learn your ways." Rodriguez leaned back in her chair. "The alliance is built on principles the Council never understood. Respect for all species, fair treatment for everyone, protection of the weak. No species rules over others." "We understand." Kextol nodded eagerly. "We see our mistakes now." "The Alliance will consider your request," Rodriguez said formally. "But understand this, there is no going back to the old ways. If you join us, you join a galaxy where all voices matter equally." As Kextol left the station, she looked back at the symbol of humanity's triumph. The species they had called barbaric had built the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever seen. They had shown the universe what true leadership looked like. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of the human alliance had begun.